If you're working on getting open at impact but struggling to get anywhere with it, I'm going to share with you the exact reasons why and what you can do about it. Make sure you check out this video. So this video, as I mentioned there in the intro, is all going to be about getting open at impact. And I've done some videos on this before, but this is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to share with you why you're perhaps struggling to get your body open at impact. We know it's a good thing. We'd like to see our body starting to unwind, and we know it's a power source so we can get our body to start to rotate to the target. But a lot of golfers are struggling to do that. And I'm going to share with you obviously the reasoning behind why you might be struggling. The main reason is the face. So if that club face is open, excessively open in the downswing, you will really struggle to rotate your body, because if that face is open, which is either going to be the toe straight up in the air at that last parallel position, so when the club is at last parallel to the ground, or the face starting to point up, if you did rotate your body open, you'd be leaving that club face aiming, for me as a right-handed golfer, a long way to the right of the target. So it'd be hitting something that was a more of a push slice weak out to the right and adding a lot of loft to the golf club. So with that face open, our brain tells our body to stall our body, that we've got to speed up our hands to try and close the club face. And we often see this very flippy looking release where I see from the downline camera the end of the club pointing back towards the camera, and I often see the club too far in front of toe line. I'd love to see the club work on this arc shape where it's starting to work around my body. So from the downline camera, once we got to the first parallel position post impact, I don't really want to see the golf club. And I certainly don't want to see the grip pointing back towards the camera where we've got this type of release pattern. It just makes it very hard to control the club face. But open club face, downswing position is one of the main reasons you would struggle. So what I want you to do is I want you to get it on video. I would love you. The problem, I guess, with normal video is the frame rate and the pixels. Are you going to be able to see the face? You need ideally some good light. Phones will record up to a couple hundred frames a second. If you can then slow it down, perhaps in an app, or record in slow-mo, if you can start to see where that face is in the downswing, that would be fantastic. If you're struggling to see the face, perhaps look more at the wrist angles. So if I had the club face open, what am I seeing in terms of the wrist? Well, my lead wrist, if I was wearing a glove logo, you can see the glove logo is pointing more up towards the sky. What I want to get the sensation of, or the look of, from the downline camera is almost like the glove logo is starting to point a little bit more downwards towards the ground at that last parallel position. What would I see if I was looking at my trail wrist, my right wrist? Well, an open club face, I'd almost look and feel like my palm is starting to point up towards the sky. So what do I want to try and get? The feeling that the palm is pointing a little bit more down towards the golf ball in this position. So if we're struggling to see the face, we perhaps need to look at the wrist angles. If the other thing you could look at is the ball flight, of course. If you're hitting a shot that's starting for a right-handed golfer outright to target, moving further that way, we know that face is open. Look at managing that first, and you should find that your body starts to get open automatically. The other thing would be the path. So if we see a player who's excessive one way or the other, whether they're way too far in to out or way too far out to in, again, they're going to struggle to rotate their body well enough. If they've got the club, let's say, behind them, trapped in this position, again, they may well stall their body to try and let their hands speed up. If you get someone from an out to in, they could rotate and get open at impact, but they'll tend to find they're missing a lot of shots by pulling them. So for a right-handed golfer, pulling them more to the left of the target, and they're actually rotating their body well, but they've got the club out to in. What normally happens when you see someone over this way, excessively out to in, is they tend to lean back and end up with a very high finish position, as if almost they're trying to keep the club pointing at the target. And often we see on the way through that chicken wing type of release. So path is something I'd look at, but the main thing would be the club face if you're struggling to get open at impact. The one little thing I did want to say, I think it's overdone in amateurs' brains of how open the elite golfers are at impact. Shoulders are actually going to appear for the majority of elite golfers to be pretty square, pretty much down, parallel to my target line. Our torso, because of side bend, should be ideally a little bit open into impact. 10, 20 degrees would be fantastic. Tour average in terms of hips, which is I guess where we tend to focus, is somewhere between 20 and 40 degrees open at impact. So they're not as excessive as perhaps you'd think. The guys like, I think Rory McIlroy, they've measured, is around 48 degrees. So those kind of numbers are big. But remember, these are athletes. These are guys and girls who are in the gym, flexible, training all the time to get that open. So it's unlikely as an average amateur golfer that you're going to see those kind of numbers. If you could get your body a little open, fantastic. Why do we want that? There is power to be created from rotational forces, but there's also power to be created by using the lateral forces. That is shifting your pressure or your weight from your trail foot to your lead foot correctly. And there are some speed to be generated from this upward movement, these vertical forces into impact. So it's not just the rotation, and I often think amateurs are perhaps trying to get beyond their means almost here. What I would do to look at and try and fix the path and the face if you are struggling to get open. For the path, and you may well have seen me do this before, my target line is here, my body is parallel to that. I'm just going to leave a tour stick down somewhere between my toe line and the ball line, pointing out for me as a right-handed golfer a little bit to the right of the target. I'm just going to try and get the sensation that in the downswing I'm almost got the club shaft matching this line. So it's pointing out to the target by around 20 to 30 degrees. I'm just going to feel like the club is on that line, that I'm not getting excessive one way or another. The player who feels trapped would be a long way inside this line if I move it a little bit more forwards. So it's somewhere between ball to target line and feet line. The player who feels really trapped, that registered a shot. The player who feels trapped would have that club excessively on the inside. So we want to feel like our arms are a little bit out in front of us, and you can see the club path here is slightly behind my hands, so it can travel from in to square to in. I'm not excessively one way or another. And then in terms of the face angle, as I said, I want you to look at it on video if you can, but if you're struggling to see the face, I want you to perhaps focus on the wrist angles. Whether your focus is onto the lead wrist or the trail wrist, I don't mind. It won't matter. So I've done some videos on one and some videos in the other. I will put some links here that I think are well worth checking out, where I discuss it in more detail. So I'm going to do a little drill here. I'm going to come down to pre-impact with that club shaft matching this orange tour stick, trying to feel like my glove logo is pointing down, or that my trail hand palm is pointing a little bit more down. And you can see that gets that club face slightly turned down. So from that position, I can now start to rotate my body. Wasn't the best contact in the world, I won't lie, but let's see if I can do that again. Pre-impact, got the shaft line and the club face looking pretty good. I'm aware of my wrist angles. Now I can start to turn my body more open towards the target. So I feel like I'm rotating my torso and my hips. But as I said, if that face is open, it will always be a stall with the body and a flick of the hands. And this is the main reason why golfers are struggling to get open. So let's try and put that into a movement without stopping. A little half swing. So I'm just feeling where the club is here, and again getting the sensation of my wrist angles, and again that's allowing me to start to rotate my body. Now I actually generated from what felt like a half swing, I'm sure it visually was a little longer than that, quite a lot of speed there. So there is some power to be generated from rotational forces, but it's not the only force we could use. Okay? That's the feeling I'm trying to get. The club is out in front of me, not stuck behind me, not excessively out to in. The face angle I'm managing through my wrist angles, and that's allowing my body to open. Let's build it into a 3/4 move. Okay. And if you find that you're starting to see the ball for a right-hander going to the left too much, that really tells you I can start to rotate my body harder and harder and harder. And that's a lovely feeling, because the harder you can rotate that body, the more speed we're going to pick up. Let's go into a full one. Just making sure that delivery position is in the right spot. That really helps me then get my body open into impact. That felt good. Lots of speed, lots of power in that, great direction down my target line. Having done the rehearsals, done the drills, it just felt like I could get that club a little bit out in front of me and manage that face angle. I look at it myself on video and I've got some club data to fall back on, so I can start to see, well, is my face open or not? But without having a launch monitor that's measuring that face angle, you're going to really have to rely on what the ball's doing, and you're going to have to look on video. But if you are struggling to get open, I pretty much guarantee that face is the problem. That face is likely to be open. Start with that, then look into the path. On that last shot I hit there, I didn't pick up face angle. It picked up path. I was 3 degrees in to out, but I hit that little right to left draw shape. It's telling me the club face was slightly closed compared to my path, slightly open to the target. That's exactly what I want to see when I'm starting to hit that draw shape, that draw pattern. Give it a go. Focus on video. Look at that ball flight. Put some comments below if I can help at all. Raise more awareness for you. If you've got any comments, questions, put them below. I'd love to answer those. Right now, YouTube is suggesting the next video of mine that you should be watching, so click that as well. And if you haven't already, do not forget to subscribe. Cheers, guys. I'll see you next time.